All right. Hi, everybody. This is John Martin from the KJC Law Firm in Worcester and Boston. And with me is Paul Sear from the Worcester Police Department. How you doing, Paul?
Well, I'm doing great, John. How are you?
I'm good. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be with us. I know you're extremely busy working for the department, and also you do volunteer work for shelters in the city. Can you tell us a little bit about what's your job, what are you doing for the department, and all that kind of stuff?
Sure. I'm currently assigned to the training division. So primarily, police academies or in-service training for the average police officer out there. Unfortunately, we also teach, my whole group, we teach for a lot of other academies around the state to help out control procedures, firearms, defensive tactics, and health and wellness. I give a lot of presentations around the state for health and wellness. Because all that is on hold, none of us can go anywhere. Everything's pretty much shut down. What they did here was very unique. Sergeant Cipro took our training division and actually established an emergency operations center with the police department. So our job went from sort of, out there just training and teaching, but when there's nothing going on there, they pulled us upstairs to the third floor and established the emergency operations center. My particular job, I'm logistics for the PPE. So that's what I've been doing, making sure that all our guys are fully equipped with whatever they need to go out there and do their jobs.
Wow, that's kind of an amazing pivot. So you took a group of people who, weren't going to be doing their trade or their training because of, social distancing and all that, and transitioned it into an emergency response team, or what was it, a special operations?
Emergency Operations Center, so an EOC.
Okay, so now when you're referencing PPE, that's the personal protective equipment?
Exactly right, sure.
Yeah, so tell us what you're doing, like, specifically. You go out and find the stuff, you're distributing it, like, how does that all work?
Well, the city has their own emergency operations center, and they have their own logistics group that works out of the emergency operations center in separate locations. But the city's been very good at getting us everything we need. And we also have some donations that flow in. I mean, Ring Doorbell, there's different various agencies, Axion, the body camera people. Sometimes we just get random shipments of PPE, some masks here and there from these guys. But the city primarily provides us everything we need, and they get their equipment from MEMA. So obviously, FEMA to MEMA to the City Emergency Operations Center logistics, and then that gets filtered down to the fire department, police department, and other first responding departments that might need it.
Fantastic. And so how are the officers doing with PPE? Are they pretty well equipped? Or are you guys facing, it seems like everybody's facing shortages.
Well, we are, right? So essentially, if you could have a one-use mask, you wear it once, you deal with someone, you go to a house and maybe they're COVID positive or suspect, and you could get rid of the mask out of precaution. Now we can't. We have to reuse some of this equipment. So we're trying to be as safe as possible. Also, we have to be frugal with the equipment because it's definitely in limited numbers. So, but the officers doing a great job. I mean, they have their masks, and every unit, whether it's operations division, service division, as soon as they need it, I have a small stockpile that I keep on hand up here in the training division, and I'll get it to them soon, as soon as I can. If it's an emergency, they realize there's a shortfall, I'll come in from home. Oftentimes I've been called in from home to get these deliveries to the guys. So I think the system's working out well. I don't think anybody's going without. Obviously good, and it's necessary because as first responders, you can't just say, no, I'm not going to that call. You got to get there, and you got to be equipped when you get there, and you got to keep yourself safe.
Right. It seems kind of amazing because I was actually Googling some stuff before we talked, and I didn't realize this, but the Worcester Police Department is the second largest police department in New England.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's a huge organization that you guys are equipping.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We got close to 500, 450, roughly 450 officers and officials. Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed by that. Larger than, the other 5 capital cities. The only larger one obviously is Boston. So that's right. That's a huge organization. So what kind of, Worcester, there's some parts of the city that are, pretty rough areas that you guys are in all the time. What kind of unique challenges or unique experiences are the officers having during this stay-at-home order and this quarantine phase that we're in?
Well, unfortunately, obviously, you have to suspect everybody is having the potential to be COVID positive. So that changes things. I mean, we had the SWAT raid the other day, and it turns out that our suspect was COVID positive, so. Right. So they had to go in and they had to get him. So that presents its own unique challenges. But just the everyday patrol officer that responds, where it's a noise complaint, they have to tell someone to turn their TV down, to some of the more higher end complaints, chasing some people out there with guns and drugs. You got to suspect everybody's positive. So you're approaching everything with a little bit more caution, right? So now you're not only worried about the potential for violence, but you also have to be worried about the potential for that hidden enemy that's out there that could get us sick. But overall, I think our department's doing really well with the numbers we have, which is a true testament to them and the caution they're taking out there in the streets. Very few of our officers. I think we just hit the number 6, so 6 positive cases since this began, and I think that's good, and that's a credit to them out there taking care of themselves and protecting themselves.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I mean, out of 500,
right?
That's absolutely amazing. Tell me about the kind of violent crimes and drug crimes. Are you guys seeing an increase, a decrease? Is everything staying the same?
I think we have a decrease in overall call volume, right? So there's actually a little bit less officer initiated because of what's going on. The less contact you have, the less potential there is to contract the virus. But overall, there's a decrease. But we have more recently, we've seen an uptick. There's been a little bit of gun violence going on, and some armed robberies, and even the SWAT call out we had the other day was about some armed robberies. There's a couple armed robberies that took place during the day. We caught 2 of the suspects, and the third bolted out of the passenger seat, and we were able to get him a little bit later with that SWAT call out. So, but overall, I think I'm pretty sure we're down. And I'm not the statistics guy. I don't really monitor that per se, but I know overall call volume is down. Last I checked, about 28%. And the violence, of course, weather's always going to have a lot to do with it. So we're coming to that time of the year when it starts getting warmer, people are outside, maybe people are drinking more, and right. So that's when we usually see an uptick in the violent crime, whether it be guns or knives or just assaults, etc.
Yeah, and it seems like, I mean, I don't want to go into a political discussion, but it just seems like people are getting a little bit stressed and tense with the amount of time out of work and in the house, and
that's going to happen.
You can see there's timbers. Maybe
middle class citizen is feeling a little bottled up at this point.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine that drunk driving and stuff like that must be seeing a steep decline, right? With the bars and everything closed.
I don't know that for a fact, and all I can do is give my opinion on that. And when you have less people driving, I can only assume that that's probably true.
Yeah. So you can refuse to answer this question if you want, but I've heard rumors that nobody's getting speeding tickets during the quarantine. Is that true?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would go through traffic. The tickets would actually go through traffic division.
Yeah.
And then to the courthouse from there. So I haven't seen anything on that.
I want somebody to test the theory. I just don't want it to be me, just in case.
Let's see who can find to do that, John.
Yeah.
Preferably someone with a Mustang and maybe some high-end speedy car.
Yeah, exactly. Something cool. Make it an event. So I know that you've been doing a lot of work over at and volunteering over at the Net of Compassion shelters, which is kind of an amazing story we got going on here in Worcester about what you and your fellow volunteers have stepped up to accomplish. Can you tell everybody a little bit what's happening at the shelters that you guys created?
Well, obviously, your brother Mike Martin would be. He's on the board of directors, so he would know a lot more about that.
Mike refuses to be interviewed by me.
Does he really?
Yeah, he doesn't want to be associated with me. I don't know.
Sibling rivalry. I can't say I blame him, or I can't say I blame you actually. But essentially, our disadvantaged citizens, they don't have places to wash their hands. They don't have safe places to sleep. So a quarantine and staying at home is not an option for them. So they needed a place to go. And I think the city manager's done a great job at setting these facilities up and making sure that they're safe. So us police officers will, protect them 24 hours a day, the various shelters. And things have been good. I mean, they've been good. They're sometimes with substance abuse or alcohol abuse, et cetera, you're less likely to care about, a particular virus. So, masking up is not always their first priority.
Sure.
So we actually had some extra masks that we got, and I was able to donate, I think, about 2,500 masks to your brother Mike to give to the shelter, so that at least they'd have something to wear. Now, their equipment status, as far as how many masks they have, I don't know, but I figured they'd definitely be able to use the masks, so we donated about 2,500 masks to the homeless shelters.
Yeah, it's just such a phenomenal story. And I mean, they opened those places up so fast, and there are people who've literally stayed there for like 2 months, right?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of the details. I kind of know when it started and when the city manager put the programs into place and provided the funding to make that happen. But it has really, really been amazing. I mean, all the volunteers that you see down there stepping up and donating their time, and a lot of the city people too, who are working at home, or they're stepping up. And if you look at the city's webpage, they're highlighting a lot of these people, which I think, instead of staying home where they're safe, they're volunteering to go to one of the most risky places, which would potentially be a homeless shelter. And they're spending their time there instead of home safe with their families, and that's a true testament to those volunteers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's amazing. And there's like restaurants jumping in, and even though the restaurants are really, really suffering, they're bringing food, and they're making sure everybody has stuff to eat. And I mean, like, really good restaurants too. It's just amazing how the community's kind of rallying around people who are really facing a hardship.
There was I just went down to service division, and there was a boatload of sandwiches down there. So someone donated a whole bunch of sandwiches, and I don't know who. I didn't ask, but we're seeing a lot of that stuff donated here to our first responders too, which is always great. We always appreciate it.
Yeah, it seems like in times of real crisis and adversity, you will see the best come out of some people, and this is one of those situations.
I always try to look at the positive, because unfortunately, if you focus on the negative, it'll drive you crazy. So there's a lot of positive things, and the restaurants are really stepping up. Like you said, Timmy Quinn from Quinn's, he's taking donations and he's getting food out there. He provided us with a series of meals. And then all these other restaurants, there's just too many to name, and I don't have a list written down, so I don't want to single anybody out. I know CrossFit Worcester donated pizzas to the emergency rooms and the COVID unit, and both St. V's and UMass, the ICU. So there's a lot of places, stepping up and providing donations. And really, do they need food? Do we need food as a policeman? Maybe not. But it's really the thought that counts, and the fact that they care enough to send this food. I mean, it's heartwarming to see these people stepping up like that, and we truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. I actually heard about CrossFit Worcester doing that, because those were like huge departments of the hospital that they were sending the food to.
Right.
I don't know who made that many pizzas, but I
think it was Papagino's, because they had to be individually sliced, right? So you're not allowed to have buffet style for the risk of spreading the disease. So each pizza had to be individually packaged.
Really?
So basically each slice, right? So each slice had to be individual. So everybody had to have their own individual slice of pizza. It couldn't couldn't deliver just the big pizzas.
I never even would have thought of that. We did a thing with a couple of the child care centers who are doing the emergency care. And that was really fun, bringing them the food. We did it with a caterer out of Framingham. But it's just amazing how people are kind of pulling together. And I particularly like the food thing, because it's almost symbolic too. Like you break bread with people. It's a source of comfort. Here's
never looked at it that way, John, but you're exactly right.
Yeah. I don't know. So tell us, obviously the nurses and the doctors are very rightfully getting a lot of attention and love from the community, but I know that a lot of people really, really appreciate the police, the fire departments. Everybody's always wondering what we could do to show you guys support and stuff like that. So what can people do to kind of reach out and show support or appreciation to their Worcester police officers?
Well, I'm not sure that we're in a position to ask anybody for anything. We just, people who support us, and we always appreciate that support. It doesn't go unnoticed. Sometimes the public or the media would like to say that the police don't have a lot of support, but when you're out there every day in the streets, you can see there's certainly a lot of support out there. There's small segments of society that may not, but we don't worry about that. And like I said, you got to focus on the positive. And we know, you see average citizens every day, even before this, you know, and they're thanking us for what we do. And sometimes just a thank you is plenty, and we always appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, on a national level, you often see a negative attitude towards law enforcement, at least in the media. But speaking locally, this department has really risen up to a very difficult situation in a very crowded city. You know, we have there's so many really good drug rehab hospitals in Worcester, but as a result, there's so many people in the city with serious addiction issues. There's a lot of crime here, and just the way that this city's been managed throughout this pandemic has been really phenomenal. You know, I think.
I agree. I don't have a bad word to say about the city manager or our department. You know, with Chief Sergeant has done a phenomenal job. Anything we need, especially on the PPE side, because that's kind of what I'm running. We've always gotten, and everybody's always been very, very supportive.
Right. You know what really got me, and honestly, I kind of teared up when I was watching it, was the parade you guys did for the hospitals.
You know, I'd love to take even a little bit of credit for that, but I seen it on the news like everybody else. I didn't I didn't even hear about it. I don't know if that was organic or if it was set up. I didn't see any emails come through, but it definitely was pretty amazing going around all these healthcare centers and showing their support. I thought that was amazing. And my wife's a nurse too, so
okay,
we're kind of in the thick of things. Her more so than I. I know she's working in the emergency room right now, so she sees it all. But and again, you know, we always appreciate the support, and you know, the nurses never ask for it, and I think, you know, us cops, we're definitely happy to give them because they're on the front line this time around. You know, oftentimes it's the police, and this time the police really can't do too much with this hidden enemy, right? We can only deal with things we can see.
Right. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Well, that's so you're out there doing police work, and she's a nurse.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. So you guys got to quarantine when this is over, man.
Well, not only that, she was sent out with a Department of Public Health to California because she's also on the DMAT team. So she was sent out to Oakland initially, and then up near San Francisco to deal with the cruise ships and all the COVID positive patients on the cruise ship. So she had about 480 patients out there.
Wow. Yeah, those cruise ships.
Right, and this was in March. So as soon as this kicked off, she was thrust right into it, right in the epicenter. You know, initially when this thing kicked off, and then she came back here, and went straight to the emergency room. She's working overnights now at the emergency room, helping to support them.
Wow, she is a warrior. Unbelievable.
Isn't she?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and she has to deal with me when she's home. So.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not as bad as you make it out to be. Listen, man, officer, I really appreciate your time today. Get a little insight into what's happening with the city and all that sort of stuff. Before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to say, any warnings, any advice, any tips you can give to people who are hopefully relatively soon going to be re-entering?
Well, exactly right. And I would just ask everybody to follow the direction of our public health officials, and you know, we'll all get through this together. Hopefully we're coming down the back end of this and we can get things opened up again, and caution is going to have to use from here on into the future, I guess. You know, I only get my information from the experts, but you know, same, if we can listen to these experts, we'll all get through this together. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting when the court reopens. There's going to be quite a backup.
Oh, no doubt about that.
And there's going to be a lot of rules, and it's going to be really reopening is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Hopefully we hear something from the governor soon.
Yeah, I think so. Looking forward to being part of the recovery. Listen, thanks again. This was really interesting. Thanks for everything you and your brother and sister officers are doing, and stay safe out there, okay?
Thanks for having me, John.
All right, thanks.